Rebecca Knol, the CEO of the Chamber of Mines and Energy. Welcome back on Flow again. Hasn't been long since we last spoke.
It certainly hasn't, Ricky, but thank you for having me back.
Now, I'm just starting to wonder what the next announcement the Chamber is calling for from the state and federal governments, because you got a great result already on this one we talked about just a week earlier in the week about water infrastructure in the north.
We've absolutely got a fantastic result, and one that we're celebrating today. Joint funding commitment of $15 million by the state and Commonwealth governments, alongside, importantly, a signing of an industry MOU between BHP and Oz Minerals, which really represents a critical milestone in the development of this project. And of course, what we were calling for funding to complete the business case, and that has now been committed, which is, just fantastic for South Australia.
Now, just casting the crystal ball ahead, we'll talk about other policies in a moment, but I think there might have been a mention I saw somewhere, this project, if it came to fruition, would cost possibly billions of dollars?
Correct. It is a very large cost. There's a lot of work that needs to happen before then. Obviously, the business case is the first hurdle, and then there would be a gated process to go through there. So from our perspective, this is very much a multi-generational project. It will cut across successive governments before it's fully up and running. It's a large desalination plant in that sort of Port Bonython and Upper Spencer Gulf region, and a 400-kilometre pipeline into the state's north. So it's a massive infrastructure project. It is being stewarded by Infrastructure South Australia, and they've done a fantastic job so far, and they will be the ones ultimately responsible for its delivery alongside the Department of Infrastructure and Transport.
Now, from memory, the Adelaide desalination plant was, I thought, somewhere in the region of $2 billion. You might want to correct me, but in terms of comparative water take for the mining industry, are we talking a similar scale to what would be the Adelaide metropolitan water usage?
Yes, it would be. My understanding is it would be a similar scale, and I don't have full detail on that engineering capacity, but it depends on who's taking water. So obviously the mining industry will be a large off-taker, and that's important because this type of project needs to be underpinned by customers. But also we've got the Woomera Defence Project up in the state's north, which has got a pipeline that needs to be addressed in future years, so they will also potentially be an off-take. And then the exciting part about this project is the fact that it can support both emerging and existing manufacturing in the triangle, the iron triangle, in terms of green steel and hydrogen production, both of which are going to require vast amounts of water. So water is the key element to unlocking the state's economic activity. The state government have set a really ambitious plan for a 3% growth target. They've also set a growth plan to produce 1 million tonnes of copper per annum to feed this international demand for copper, which is just exploding as a result of its use in renewable technologies. So this is an opportunity for water to actually unlock not only the resources sector but other sectors in South Australia.
Now, I haven't yet heard from the environmental lobby about this one. I imagine they'd be excited that more water might go down the Murray that would otherwise go to mining. But when it comes to the saline discharge from a desalination plant, is there any thinking or engineering solution that might resolve any concerns about that going into the Upper Spencer Gulf?
Yes, I think you've touched on the point. From an environmental perspective, this has got great benefits. The fact that we may be able to reduce our reliance on the Great Artesian Basin and also on the Murray River, it's not insubstantial. These are finite resources ultimately, and we need to look at sustainable water supply. In terms of the desalination piece, that is all part of the business case as well, as working out what needs to be done to ensure that the outfall from the desalination is moved sufficiently offshore, so into a part of the Gulf where there is mixing. It's certainly not something that can be deposited close into the shoreline. So all of those environmental and community considerations will be the next stage of the project. There's obviously got to be community consultation along a 400-kilometre pipeline length, and there needs to be a lot of environmental studies done as well. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen before a project of this magnitude actually starts being built on the ground. And we're used to that in our industry. Mining projects can take somewhere between 7 and 15 years to get off the ground. So we're well used to a process that requires a lot of thinking and a lot of studies and a lot of consultation.
Well, I mean, no disrespect to the late Thomas Playford. They often say people be rolling in their graves about some things. He'd be resting comfortably in the ground, I suspect, knowing that his sort of vision with pipelines is going to continue in South Australia.
Yeah, I hope he would be, because, he was a visionary for the state, and he was very much about long-term strategic planning, and that's what this project is all about. It's how do you unlock the state's economic potential, but do it in such a way that it benefits all parties, not just one or two.
Well, Rebecca, thanks very much for your time. Appreciate that. And we'll keep watching what the next announcement is from the Chamber of Mines and Energy. We might see more movement before the state election.
Well, hopefully you do, and I look forward to discussing that with you, Ricky.